Mhm.
Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Women Like Me Stories in Business. I'm your host, Julie Fairhurst, and today I have a writer from our book that just recently came out. Her story is amazing. So I hope you hang in for this entire podcast that we're doing. So today's conversation is one that lives in the space between heartbreak and becoming, the space where everything you thought your life would be falls apart, and then you have to decide who you are without it. My guest is a woman who was told she had 1 year left to become a mother, just as her marriage was ending and her world was unraveling. What followed is not a straight path, it was a fight through infertility. Sorry, I got that word wrong. Loss of judgment, illness, and moments where most people would have given up. But she didn't. Instead, she chose something powerful. She chose to take her life into her own hands and create the future she refused to let go of. Her story, featured in the book, the space between before and after, is raw, it is honest, and it is deeply human. And today we're going to walk through that journey with her. Kelly-Erin, thank you so much for being here. What was the word I stumbled over?
Infertility.
Infertility. Thank you. Thank you for that. We want to be clear about what that word was. People would be going, what? They'd be like, looking back, what was that word? Well, thank you so much for being here. Kelly, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Let's see. Well, I am a teacher librarian. I am also a award-winning life insurance agent. I am now a published author,
Yes.
and I'm the mother of three human children and two fur babies.
Oh, lovely, lovely. And what grade do you teach in school?
So I'm a librarian, so I'm at the elementary
Oh,
school, so I do
oh,
everything.
you do them
So all
too.
the way from like kindergarten, where I'm very animated and doing different voices for the picture books, all the way up to grade 6, where we can have discussions with novels that are have relevant topics about their future.
I would love, I mean, you get to have the whole gamut. That's
Oh, it's
awesome.
everything.
That's awesome. Wow. Okay, well, let's jump in. So, when were you told you had 1 year left? Um, and if you didn't get pregnant by then, you may never get pregnant.
So I was 27 years old,
Mm,
and my marriage was just ending. Basically, we were getting divorced. Everything had already been filed. And yeah, it was just basically waiting for the ink to dry, so to speak, in that 30 days, and then it would be done. And went in for a routine checkup with the doctor. And, they were managing, the endometriosis that I'd been diagnosed with years earlier. And they were like, yeah, it's not going well.
mm, mm.
Which, I mean, you're only 27, so you kind of hear about people having infertility issues in their 30s or even 40s, and it's like, this is
Yeah.
not supposed to be happening to me at 27. In fact, I mean, let alone I wasn't supposed to be getting divorced at 27, but
Yeah.
this was just not how the life plan that I had foreseen for myself, basically since I was 8 years old. There were certain things that were going to happen. And this was not one of them, shockingly.
No. Yeah. And you write in your story about that marriage, and you say that it was you were wanting to proceed with getting pregnant and having a child, but he kind of was putting it off a little bit.
Yeah, so, like when we met, I was very open and honest about, this is my medical condition. If you're not on board, I, you should probably leave.
Yeah.
And because I mean, this is a pretty major thing. If you're not on board with kids, well, you may as well just, why bother? You may as well just leave.
Yes.
And you can't just say, oh, well, someone's going to change. Well, no, right from the very beginning, he was like, oh, yeah, that's great. And how many kids do you want? And, we even had it down to, I mean, I remember traveling on a train with him through France, deciding what the names of our children were going to be, what, they would call our parents, what grandparent names they would have for his parents and my parents, even down to, Santa Claus and how that would all look. We had talked about everything. It was, so I kind of thought, okay, we really looked after this. We checked every box off, and we are so on the same page. But apparently we weren't.
Yeah.
And then after, we got
Hmm.
married, he was sort of like, oh, well, I actually really don't want kids. And I kind of was hoping you'd just if I kept putting it off, you'd just be sterile and we wouldn't have to worry about it.
Wow.
Which I can't even believe that somebody would even consider that. And he said
Mm.
it so straight-faced and deadpan, like it was the same as like, oh, could you pass the sugar?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like such a hurtful thing, but he didn't even see it as hurtful.
No.
And why would you, then he couldn't understand why I wanted to leave.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, because you've hurt me immensely. Why would I want to stay with somebody?
Yeah. 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 And you wanted to have children.
Yes.
And so your time's ticking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
knew it was ticking. I just didn't think it was ticking quite that fast.
Right. Right. You describe feeling numb instead of emotional in the moment that you found out. Why do you think that was?
I think just everything had been ripped out from underneath me, like everything had been ripped out. My marriage, I had to move out, so suddenly I had no home. Um, no children. Like everything had been taken away. It's like I don't even know what to feel. Do I feel sad? Do I feel angry? It's just like I don't even know what to think because there's so many things going on. And sometimes, with experience, you learn how to deal with things, but being only 27, I had no life experience to know,
Mm.
well, how do you deal with a divorce? How do you deal with a bad breakup type things like, and this was beyond bad breakup. This was divorce. Like
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Wow. You built your entire future around becoming a mother. What did it feel like when that dream suddenly had an expiration date?
well, some things went through, like, for example, I had always wanted to be an actress, and I'm like, I do not see how I can be an actress and a mother at the same time.
Mm.
And what do I want more? And it's like, I want to be a mother more than an actress. And then, well, then it was almost like, well, then what job do I do? Well, then I became a teacher because I thought that was the perfect mother job, same holidays and type of thing. And it was almost like, well, why did I even become a teacher then? I could have been an actress. I could have been a lawyer because that I saw as something that, well, you definitely can't have children because you're focused on your career. And
Yeah.
again, I didn't think how I could split up both. Some people can,
Yeah.
but for me, I just didn't see how I could do that. And
Yes.
I'm like, I could have done anything else. But again, everything has been taken away from me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And
There's
I
a
didn't even want to teach anymore because being around children was just so
oh,
painful. Because I
mm,
mean, it's a weird relationship as a teacher with your students because you have these kids, especially like kids in kindergarten or grade one, and they're like, "Oh, Miss Ketchen, we love you," and they want to give you a hug, and it's like, I can't hug you back. I cannot show any
mm,
affection really at all other than, verbal, "Oh, good job."
right.
But it's not the same as being a mother where, yeah, you can hug your child and you can, cuddle with them and read them a story at night. You can't do anything as a teacher, obviously,
Yes.
with,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Wow.
it's not the same. And so being around them was incredibly painful. And I likened it to try being a diabetic and working in a chocolate factory.
Oh,
Because
yes.
everyone was like, oh, you have such a wonderful job. You can be around them. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be around them.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Wow. There's a line where you say that you felt like everything you wanted was crumbling. What did rock bottom look like in that season?
Basically, your marriage is gone. I had no home. There were a couple of weeks where I was couch surfing on friends' couches. And I mean, it was interesting timing that my grandmother's sister had to be put into a facility due to dementia. And my grandmother, I call her Oma, was like, well, we need to have somebody there just for insurance reasons. You want to move in? And I was so grateful because at least I had a home, but it was kind of creepy, weird. I had like some friends who came over and they're like, the vibe in here, it's like bad juju.
Oh
And
no.
I'm like, I know it's awful, and just please help me tidy things up a little bit because they hadn't even packed up her stuff. Basically they just kind of
Oh.
took her and then,
Mm,
hi, here's a suitcase and plunked her into the facility. And so there was all this stuff around that wasn't mine, and it was
yes.
just
Yeah.
bad energy too. And it was like, so I'm trying to make the best of it because at least I'm not couch surfing anymore.
Right. Of
But
course.
I mean, I didn't really have a home, and
Yeah. That's tough all at once. All at once.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was
So
sort
what?
of like a triple,
Yes.
let down.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So what was the moment when you realized no one's going to come to save this dream? I have to do it myself.
It was probably about 6 months later, and I had had one friend who had sort of like passed me a phone number of a fertility clinic, and I'm like, oh, I can't do that. But then, I kind of kept going back to it, and I kind of thought, okay, I'll just phone this person, and I will phone them because it was basically the sister of one of her friends who had gone
Mm,
to the same clinic. So I phoned her and I said, well, wasn't it weird going to a fertility clinic? And she goes, no, it's more a case of I loved my child so much that
mm.
I wanted to make sure that she had the best biology and the best genes and the best background that I could give them, as opposed to, finding some drunk guy at a
Yeah.
bar. And I'm like, yeah, okay, okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, actually makes a lot more
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So choosing a clinic as a single woman, what fears did you have that you didn't say out loud to anyone?
I didn't tell anyone what I was doing except for very a few very close friends and a couple of family members, but I didn't tell them because I was so worried about being judged.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
again, this is the 90s. You don't, if you're a single mother, it's because like you went to the bar and you got drunk.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's like, no, that is not me.
Yeah.
And then there was also just the fear of what if it doesn't work? Like I had one
Mm,
friend and she was very concerned about me emotionally. She goes, "What if you do this? How many years are you going to keep trying?" And I'm like, and I said, "Well, I was given a year. I give myself a year. So I give myself 12 tries to have a successful pregnancy."
and you could do that every month?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. So you had to choose a donor. This I
Yes.
find so interesting in the book. So you had to choose a donor based on a few lines of information. How did you carry that responsibility emotionally?
It it was scary. Plus there was also this kind of little fear of what if they give me the wrong donor? Because, if you do it the traditional way,
Ah,
you see the person in front of
yeah,
you. You know
yeah, yeah, yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
But, so there was a little fear with that.
Mm,
Um, I tried to narrow it down as best I could, but I could only go into the clinic with 7 choices. And so I brought like my good friend Michelle with me. And at first she was a little surprised, but then she kind of paused. She goes, well, I guess it's no different than if you were dating a guy and you asked me, what do you think of him? She goes, it's just I having to read about him on paper instead of, seeing him.
yeah.
So she kind of was able to wrap her head around that. But yeah, there's like a lot of fear of, is this the right person? Um, and then there's all this whole thing of like, I even could kind of tell because I do have some basic genetic background from university, and it's like it almost felt kind of weird somehow because it's like, okay, so I'm going to know that my child's going to have like light eyes, like be it blue eyes or green eyes or gray. They're not going to have brown. Genetically impossible for her to have or them to have brown eyes. And it's like, am I manufacturing this child? And that movie Gattaca had come
Yeah.
out, and it's like, am I doing, am I being too scientific about this? And it's like, nope, I'm reading a profile and finding the ideal person.
Yeah.
And this is somebody who I would be attracted to in real life.
Yes. Yes.
So I went with that.
Yes. Wow. Wow. And then when you did finally conceive, you got really sick.
Yeah, so I kind of jokingly say that was my fault because when I was trying to get pregnant, I would, wish upon every star. I said my prayers. I did, all these things. And at one point, I even said, I don't care what happens. Give me your worst. I will take it so long as I can have a child. So apparently, you should never tempt fate because I lost that lottery really badly.
Yeah. Wow.
Um, and yeah, so right off the bat, like about, I would say by the time I was a month in, I was very, very sick.
Wow.
And I was trying to manage working with being so sick. So I'm like, women have morning sickness all the time. This is
Yes.
normal. And it's like, no, actually, I found out it was not normal, that I was beyond morning sickness. I got a clinical term of hyperemesis, and left untreated, you can actually die of hyperemesis, which just sounds like a horrific way to go. I even heard somewhere that there possibly Emily Bronte or one of the Bronte sisters passed of that.
Oh.
Um, but just it was just horrendous, like just
Mm.
day after day and just being
And you
sick.
must have been so fearful that you might miscarry.
Oh, constantly. Because it's like,
Yeah.
how much can I be sick? And the doctors would be like, oh, well, women carry pregnancies and, horrible hit during his horrible historical events, so you'll be fine. And I'm like, yay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's
Exactly.
not really what
Yeah.
I want to do. But,
Yeah.
again, you have no choice. And I refused any alternatives. It's like, no, this is what I want, and I'm going to plow through this.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Well, there were moments that even the medical staff dismissed what you were going through. So, how did you deal that with your mindset?
Well, and it's really unfortunate because, like, a couple of times I did go into the hospital at BC Women's because I was just so nauseous and throwing up constantly. Like, I couldn't even keep water down, so I'm getting dehydrated.
Oh.
And I remember one time going in there, and like the curtains are closed, of course, and the nurse one, like, I can hear them outside, and one nurse goes, "What's wrong with her?" And the other one goes, "Oh, she's nauseous." And I'm like, I just felt so demeaned
Mhm.
in that
Mhm.
moment. And it's like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be complaining about this, and
Mhm.
maybe I shouldn't be here, which
Mhm.
then resulted in that when I really did need to go in, I pushed it far longer than I should have, to the point that when I did go back in and I got admitted, they were like, "Yeah, you're very, very sick."
Mhm.
And they even were telling me that at that point in time, my kidneys were shutting down. The next thing that would be going was going to be my liver. Um, then the next would be like falling into a coma and then heart failure. And they're like, yeah, so your kidneys are shutting down and we're hoping to save your kidneys, which they did.
Yes.
But
Wow.
still, like hearing that,
Yes.
it just made me feel like, oh, I guess I'm overreacting, but I wasn't.
I get that. I can certainly get that. And then so you put it off for so long because you think you're being a wimp or whatever. But
Yeah,
really, you were very sick.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
because I even said, please don't send me home. And they're like, oh, you're not going anywhere for a long time.
Oh, dear. Well, your family didn't fully support your decision at first. So, how did you stay anchored when the people closest to you didn't really understand your path?
Yeah, because I have a very traditional family. Married then you have children. You don't do it the other way around. And it was bad enough that I was getting divorced. Not that divorce isn't already in my family, like my parents are divorced, but it was sort of
Yes.
like, really? You're only 27, you only made 2 years of marriage and you're already getting divorced. And, it was just a real thing of,
Hmm.
well, then you should have just accepted you shouldn't have children. You shouldn't have done this. You should have just followed the straight path that you're supposed to follow. And, but I mean, I knew going into this that this was how that they were going to react. And so it was, but it still hurt.
Of
Like
course.
you hope that they will understand, even though you know that they're not going to understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was really funny because my mom was worried about me telling too many people about going to a fertility clinic and in case
Uh,
people were turned off that. And it was really funny because my Oma actually drew that conclusion already. She goes, "Well, I just assumed you went to a clinic because you wouldn't have done it any other way." And I'm like, "Oh, you know me." And she goes,
yeah.
"It's going to be really hard." But she was very, supportive, and she just wished it had been the more traditional way. She was just worried
Yeah.
about me doing it on my own, which,
Yes.
you know, that's perfectly reasonable. And at the time, she was
Yes.
about 78 years old in the 90s. So I thought it was actually pretty forward thinking that she just went right to fertility clinic.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So you did experience a miscarriage. And when you did, you discovered that you were having twins.
Yes. So that was so surreal because, like, I still even have people when they find out that I miscarried a twin, they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, it's okay. I didn't even know that I was having twins. So I didn't really feel like I had mourned anything because I went into this hoping for one child
Yeah.
and I ended up with one child.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I wonder what the twin would have been like.
Hmm.
But at the same time, like Gemma has such a strong, exuberant personality. I sometimes joke, well, there's only room for one Gemma in the world because she's so amazing.
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
it was still
Yeah.
very surreal because you hear miscarriage and you think, okay, now I'm no longer pregnant, but it's like, so it's just it was surreal, it was weird,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's hard to
Yeah.
describe just that feeling, and it's like, do I mourn? But I have a child, so
Yes.
I mean, sometimes I even wonder now how I should have reacted, but it's like I was just
Well,
grateful for one.
for sure. No, and I think the fact that you didn't like you didn't nobody knew that you were pregnant with two. I think that would have been different had you known and you're going through everything, and then I could see that being different. But with your, wanting to have a child so badly, and at least you, like you say, you still had the one. You still, and that's where you're going to put all your energy, all your focus, everything into trying to get as healthy as you can for that one.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Wow.
trying to do everything for that one.
Yeah. So there's a powerful moment where you say you didn't need a husband to create your dream. You could do it on your own. So what did that realization unlock in you?
It was very empowering because it was like, all this time, I kept thinking, because I was getting divorced. And it's like, well, how can I have a child? I'm getting divorced. I don't even have a boyfriend. I can't do this. And it was like, no, I can. And I can do this. And I have a permanent job so I can financially support this child and I can financially support the medical that I need to do to get this child. And everything I have done in life has still led up to this moment. It just took a curve instead of going in a straight line.
Yes,
But it
yes.
was just knowing that, and in a way, I felt like as a woman, I felt very strong because if a man wants a child, there's nothing they can do. But
No,
I
that's true.
can as a woman, and that's where I felt even like I just felt so strong and empowered, and just the ability to do truly everything I want, and I don't have anything to hold me back.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Wow. So when you finally held your daughter after everything, what was that moment like?
Oh, I mean, I remember like I had a couple of friends and my mom and my Oma came in and I'm like, look what I made.
Look what I made. That's
And
sweet.
they thought that was really funny. And
Yes.
um, but I was in awe of her. She was, I mean, just looking at every tiny, finger and fingernail. And
Hmm.
it was funny because when she was born, she had this shock of white blonde hair. And the first thing I said was, how did I make a blonde? Because that was
Yeah.
the last thing I thought. But it's like, okay, again, genetics, I know how it works. Okay, now I know. But
Yeah.
it was just the first thing that came out. And it was just like this beautiful baby. And even the doctor that delivered her goes, oh my God, what a beautiful baby. And I thought, oh, you say
Oh.
that to everybody. And the nurses were like, oh no, this doctor does not say that. Like your child actually is beautiful. And I'm like,
Oh.
well, yes, I think so. But it's like just looking at her, it was just it's all here.
Yeah. Wow. And was there ever any um urges from you or from her to find her biological father, or did that ever, or was it just never?
Well, she was basically brought up. I remember seeing a TV show in the 70s. It was called Kids Are People Too. And
Oh,
they were
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they were interviewing this girl. She was a teenager and she was adopted and they said, how did you find out you were adopted? And she goes, I always knew. Every time I was put to bed, my parents would tuck me in and read me a story and tell me, you're adopted and we love you so much. And it
Mm.
just stuck with me, even like as an 8-year-old. And so I used to do that with her. And so she goes, I
Ah.
don't even remember not knowing that, that I was, special and that I was, you know, had only like you, but it wasn't like a, weird thing. She goes, I only ever felt, love.
Oh.
And then when she was older, she was kind of curious. And
Hmm.
there's a registry for donor siblings, so we registered for that. And we actually found a few siblings. We met, and there was actually boy-girl twins from Ontario.
Wow.
And through her Irish dancing, we were in Boston, and so they came down and we met like in the middle type thing. And they spent 4 days. And it's like, honestly, you would have sworn that they'd known each other all their lives. They just
Wow.
got along, so well. And,
Wow.
the twins' mom and myself, we were just like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, she was like, can we try and find my dad? Now, of course, in the 90s, there was no talk of DNA or ancestry
Right.
and so we did one of those DNA things and we actually found her father's cousin. And so I, messaged and reached out to him and he's like, okay, let me do some investigating. I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
And then like about a week later, he goes, yeah. And so it was a very slow process, but Gemma actually does, speak with him and she's got
Oh.
siblings as well through him. And so it's really turned out as a happy ending because
Yes.
very often, children born and conceived through this never even find out who their biological father is. And if
Hmm.
they do, I would say 90% of the time, they want nothing to do with them. And it's like, no, I just donated sperm and I don't
Yeah.
want anything to do with you.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we were lucky that he was
Yes.
like, yeah,
Well, you picked the right genes then, didn't you?
I
You
did. I
picked the right
did.
genes. Yes, because you're right. I don't think everyone would be comfortable with that.
No, no.
No. So, yeah, wow. Well, for women listening who might be feeling like time is running out on her dream, what would you say to her?
Oh, I would definitely say you pursue your dreams. And because for some people, not pursuing their dreams they feel incomplete, like they missed out on something. And if that is where your drive is pushing you, then you should pursue your dreams. And you shouldn't feel like you're being held back because of a lack of a person or because of a person, depending on the situation.
Hmm.
But you should definitely pursue your dreams. And I would say that it's much more common for, children to be conceived in this manner than it was in the 90s.
Hmm.
And I just don't think that, as a person, you should hold back on anything
Yeah. Yeah.
and just, you know, live your life with of happiness and experience every dream, every passion that you have. Whatever it may be. I've also, I have some friends and they're like, oh, are you going to tell me being a mother is the best thing and I should go out and have children? It's like, no, if you don't want to have kids, it is a really difficult job. But at the same time, it is the greatest thing I have ever done in my
Yes.
life. And I am blessed that I have three incredibly successful children.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're right. There's ups, there's downs, there's tears, there's anger, and all that stuff that goes along with parenting. But I mean, the rewards are huge. Rewards
Exactly.
are
I
huge for
mean,
sure.
also, because sometimes I'm mad, my dad will, and not just with this, but with other things, he goes, that's going to be hard. And I go, it wouldn't be worthwhile if it wasn't hard.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah. If we didn't do things because they were hard, we'd never take risks. And
Exactly. You'd never leave the house.
no. No, you wouldn't. You're right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what is something you believe about life back then that you no longer believe about now?
Um, I don't think things have to be as traditional as following the road. The path for some people can follow that route, but some people, they take a bit of a windy, curvy route, and that's okay too. I think sometimes the curvy route can be a more adventurous route. It's, living life to its fullest.
Hmm.
And I think that, people underestimate what they're capable of. But,
Yes.
just go for it
Yeah.
if it's what you want.
If
If it
it's
doesn't
what
have
you
to be
want.
motherhood, it can be whatever your passions are.
Absolutely. So, if your story had a single message etched into it, what would it be?
Pursue your dreams at any level and never let anyone hold you back.
Hmm.
I had lots of family that was not happy, but at the same time, they all love Gemma now, so obviously it wasn't that bad.
Right. Yes. Well, and I think as you said earlier that it's much more common now, and so it would be more accepted. And I think, in the defense of our parents from back then, it was yeah, it was you just don't do anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
if you
remember
yeah.
hearing one of Gemma's dance teachers when she actually heard about, Gemma's conception and background, and she just kind of paused and she goes, that is the bravest thing I've ever heard.
Oh,
And I had never thought of myself as a brave
wow.
person. I'm like, yeah, actually, I am brave. I am very brave.
Absolutely. What a beautiful thing to say. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you've lived in the space between before and after, in that space. Who did you become because you walked through it?
I became a mother. I became stronger. I became, I describe myself sometimes as I am platinum. It's the strongest material. I am platinum now,
Yeah.
even stronger than gold or silver. I am platinum. Um, and I am just a joyful person.
Wow. Oh, I don't want to stop our conversation, Kelly-Erin. You're just so inspirational, and I appreciate you so much. I appreciated your honesty in writing that story and I appreciate you being able to come here and talk about it because we don't know who's listening. We don't know who's going to hear it.
And I hope that somebody, if they hear it, might go like, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can live my dream. I can live my passion. I can take control of my life and do with it what I want.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just grab
Wow.
the bull by the horns and take it
Yeah.
and live
Yes.
because it's not a life if you're not living.
No, exactly. You're just existing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I just want you all to know that I'm going to have the link to the book in the show notes. If you'd like to grab the book, you can. But I'm also going to have a way that you can reach Kelly-Erin. In the book, we have an author section in the back, and there's a QR code there where you can reach her. I can't do the QR codes, of course, on YouTube or in the podcast, but I will put the link there for you if you want to reach out to her and if you even want to just run something past her. She's lovely and she's open and friendly and caring and yeah, so don't hesitate to do that. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Kelly-Erin. Really, I appreciate you more than you know, and I just know that your story is going to be helpful to somebody out there. I know it. I would say it's one of those things that probably a lot of women suffering in silence.
Yes. Yeah, I think so too. And I think there's getting more awareness of it.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, well, thank you again. And thank you, everyone, for watching this episode of Women Like Me Stories in Business. And we will see you again next time. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.